Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com. Stay that way because I like it like that.
Welcome back. This is Larry Yates. Larry Yates is God. You back to the Larry Yates Here show. Hey, I want to thank everybody for joining me and kind of putting up with my series here. How do we get here? Point. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, you know, and there are some things that I'm dealing with right now. A little bit on a personal level, but I won't drag you into it. So if I seem a little bit slow, a little bit draggy, it's not that I don't want to be here, because, you know, I love this. I love doing this. I love sharing a little bit of information that I have been able to dig up here and there. You know, I'm kind of like an emotional archaeologist sometimes. You know, I go and dig up stuff that some of you get kind of a little bit of shock with. So today it's a different kind of show today, in the sense of a couple of people. And, well, first of all, I put it out there and I asked people to hit me up and see, is there a particular show that you want me to do on this How Do We Get Here series. I'm going to be doing more interviews with other people, bringing in other guests and stuff. But when I put that filler out there and ask people to, you know, give me some titles, and so your boy can go and dig up some information and see how do we get here. And when I first started this, it was a little bit, how do I say it? I'm a little bit nervous because, you know, I'm sitting here all by my lonesome and stuff, and I know I got you guys back me up. But I didn't know what direction I was going to go in here. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of jump into this. There's a lot of stuff going on in politics and with Trump and what happened to Bill Cosby today and the whole bit. Just watch your evening news for that one. I'm not going to do an evening news show. So this is about how do we get here? And I call it global identity crisis. And when we look at what is happening now, and a lot of this will play into what's going on in our life today, whether it's political, spiritually, or financially, or whatever. This is all tie in together here. In this series of how did we get here with this global identity crisis that was brought to my attention. In fact, the engineer, my good friend Jarvis, was the first one to say, man, why don't you look at that? And I want to thank Jarvis for bringing it to my attention. And so I hope I can do you guys some good here. Now, when I tie this together, some of you are going to be a little bit thrown off because I'm not going to take this where you might think I am going with this. So, first starting off with identity crisis, I started off looking into the African-American community, looking into the black community. And with the global identity crisis and the self-hatred that we as African-American or black people have gone through, a lot of it we know where it came from. You know, when we was captured and brought into slavery, we was brutalized and raped and tortured, and not that I can separate rape from torture, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's some of the most horrific things that can be done to a human being, animal, in any sense of the imagination was done to us to break our spirits, to dehumanize us to a point that we were less than farm animals. And the torture and the things that was done to us by the Europeans in colonization white men and white slave owners, the things that they did for us is so horrific that we still can't even put it into words. And in the history of mankind, for almost 400 years, this happened to a people. So we can see how some of the identity crisis that attached itself, or that we suffered from. And one of the things, once they conquered us physically, they needed to conquer us mentally. So one of the things, they stole and took and forced us away from our language. And because the language was snatched away from us, then therefore the history and the ancestry knowledge of who we was attacked and basically destroyed. And then the religion that was given to us, Christianity, took away so much of our identity of who we are, where we came from, and even where we are going. We got caught up in all of these mythical Christianity bullshit, believing in mythical creatures and stuff that was so far beyond who we are and what we could do that we lost ourselves. But then one of the most damaging things came in psychologically is to demonize, criticize everything about our image. So for years, all the magazines and the newspaper stories going back to the 17, 18, 1900s demonized our image, demonized our color, the dark skin, the Negro, the buck eyes, and we was demonized and criticized for the nose that we were born with, and our lips. And what that did, it made black people hate each other. And what we did was we looked to what was opposite of that God gave us, the Almighty, the Most High gave us, as beautiful, magnificent, all of that beautiful. Now, here is what's so freaked out about that. No matter whether you believe in intelligent design or creationism or design by this, that, it doesn't matter. Whatever in the universe decided to create human beings, man, that energy, that spirit, that the Most High thought of a black man and a black woman, that he created us first. We are his chosen people, so that we bring other people in existence. And we looked in the mirror because someone taught us to hate that. And then some of the most well-known that started to chop away at our nose. But, let me back up a little bit. One of the things that happened in the black community, we started to manipulate our hair, because we was told this nappy head, this kinky hair was dirty, it was stinking, it was animalistic. And so we went in to butcher our hair. The one thing about the hair, I give us a little bit of leeway on, because historically different African tribes have always manipulated the hair, because black hair has a texture that it can be sculptured into beauty in almost unimaginable way that no other people on the planet can take their hair and sculpture and do these beautiful, just do artwork with it. Whether it was straightened, whether they straightened it or braided or put weave in, this is historical. And I used to criticize us for it, and I went and got my own hair straight. But I criticize us for that. But I give us a little bit of leeway on that, because historically, black people have always played around and manipulated and had fun. In fact, history was written in our hairdos. Our culture was written in our hairdos. You could look at a woman hairdo and a man hairdo to see whether he was a warrior or a king, or see whether she was married or a widow, or whether she had children or not. So, the hair has always been almost as if it was a billboard of information. So we did get a little carried away with it now. Don't get me wrong. I gotta get that shit now. We got a little carried away with it. Because most of it we did, it wasn't for spiritual beliefs. It was because white America had made us ashamed of it. And it wasn't just, and after white America did it, it went across the world. Where the Asians, the Hispanics, everybody teased us about our hair, our skin, our nose. And as you know, in all of these areas, whether you're Asian, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Arab, the darker skinned one is at the lower end of the totem pole. And then we start to cut away at our nose. Our nose was too big. All of the movies and all of the bad nicknames that we got for having broad nose. And then we, as African Americans, got into Hollywood, and one of the most famous one is Michael. I get it. I know you're going to say, well, what about Mike? Yeah. I give Michael a little bit of leeway once again here because his skin, he did have a skin disease. He has a skin disorder. He had a skin disorder. And being a superstar, there was things that I can't say I wouldn't have done for the hair. I mean, the skin. But then the plastic surgery with the nose. And so we in Hollywood, every time one of us get a little money, every time one of us get a little fame, we go in and change our nose. We can't change the lip because they ain't came up with nothing for black folk to change the lips yet. But if they ever come up with something with black folk changing the lip, some of you damn fools will be out there making your lips smaller. So, but we get a lot of that happened to African Americans here in America because there was the most powerful government and the most powerful media on the planet that made us look like animals, and we wanted to be opposite of that and look more like our slave master. And this baseball player, what's his name? Sammy Sosa. Here this man in 2016, 17, 18, go and take the beauty of his skin color away. Born a beautiful human being that reached that level of most of us would never reach in the sports world and became very powerful, very rich, very famous. And what did he do? The slave master mentality got to him, and he went in and did the same thing. As a matter of fact, I heard there's information now that this face cream to lighten our skins is sold more in Africa than it is anywhere else on the planet. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So we're no longer under colonization of that, and we understand that the movies, we understand that entertainment magazines has tilted away from our beauty as being the idea of beauty. But my God, how can you in this day and time, what is happening? How do we get here today? How do we get here? And we're going to talk about it, but how do we get here that people in the continent of Africa is buying this cream and whitening their skin? Someone like Sammy Sosa in 2017, 18, whitening his skin. Now, some of you guys I have worked with in Hollywood. By the way, let me say this. I'm not saying anybody is wrong for doing whatever is going to make you happy. But I just want to know, how do we get here that is what you need to make you happy? And then we looked at that, and now we thought, as black people, we thought we were the only one going through this identity crisis. Then you look up white people now, white women. The very lips that we was criticized for, now white women are getting their lips injected. I mean, why? How did we get here? And we're just disfiguring and augmenting and changing our bodies to look like animals, look like dolls, and look like mannequins. And now the big butt now has become popular. And I remember, you see, before hip hop, and I'm not talking about there was negative messages or not in hip hop video, but before hip hop in the 80s, 90s, the world denied the beauty of these young black girls. And boy, when these hip hop videos come out and they had all of these beautiful black women, these beautiful bodies, these big old round butts that shook up the freaking world, they got to see all this. Now, I'm not talking about the salacious message behind it right now. I'm talking about the beauty of the black female body that could no longer be denied. And one of my favorite Spanish artists was Selena. Ooh, man, I love that girl. That she was just so sweet. Her voice, I loved her music. Well, Selena come along after this hip hop video, and then you see this beautiful Spanish girl with this just beautiful body. It wasn't salacious. She did it with dignity. She did it with love, but she wore her body proudly now, because now the Spanish girls didn't have to deny that they had the body, the butts, the whole bit. And then what Hollywood did, they said, well, we got to find somebody to play Selena. They even got Jennifer Lopez. Then now Jennifer Lopez came along, now the big butt. Big butts is out there. Everybody wanted the big butts. I remember, I think it was Christy Brinkley that said a pretty nasty thing about Jennifer Lopez and her big butt. And then now you had young white girls that were starving themselves to death to fit the image of being the runway walker, anorexia. And if I'm not mistaken, so I want you guys to let me know, but I think most of anorexia girls happen to be white. I'm not saying all. But because they fell under this pressure of the modeling agencies and the image of what beauty was, the flat butt, the skinny white girls and the blonde hair, and that kind of got them caught in the middle now, because now they're coming out with injections for your butt, your boobs, your jaws and your forehead and your lips and stuff. How do we get here? How do we get to the point that when we look in the mirror, whether we're black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, that the beauty that the Most High gave us, we don't like it? How do we get here? Well, you have Asian people now are having their eyes redesigned because they want the European eye. And there was I think this young lady, she's on the talk. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember her name, but I remember her talking about the dilemma of having her eyelids done in order to get the job. How did you get to the point, the Asian, the Hispanic, the blacks, and now the white, in all of planet Earth now? Everybody, every family is suffering with someone that is redesigning their body. Now, once again, folks, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, how do we get here that you are no longer, we as a species on planet Earth, that we are no longer satisfied with what the Most High gave us? Whether you believe in Jesus, Allah, and all of that, I'm not going to get into that. But what got you here? What got us here? You have guys that are changing their whole image to become reptiles. They're putting spikes in their heads. They're splitting their tongues. They're filing down their teeth to look like reptiles and look like animals, to look like dogs, to mimic cats, and having ourselves butchered into this point where we have men and women, a woman saying, I'm a woman born, I'm a man born in a woman body, or I'm a woman born in a man body, vice versa, and butchering yourselves because you don't like what you see in the mirror. What is going on? What's going on here? What got us here? And there's so much that we can't even cover in this short time of this show because we've gotten to the point. I remember there was a young lady named April, and she used to be a hairdresser. I used to get my hair there, an African-American woman. And you may have seen her on TV. And I thought April was just gorgeous. Well, April had, for a black woman, she was not satisfied with her butt. And she went and had someone in the neighborhood now. Someone in the neighborhood went and inject her with silicone. The same stuff, as I understand, April was injected with the type of silicone that you go and seal tubs and stuff with. African-American girl. Like I said, I thought April was beautiful. I didn't know why she didn't want me. I sit at the beauty shop and wink at her. She didn't wink back at me. I don't know how she could turn all this down. But anyway, did ghetto home remedies, someone injecting silicone in her, and she got so infected that April lost both arms and both legs. And I saw her about 2 years ago, and her spirit is good and the whole bit, but this is what happened to us when we're so dissatisfied with who and what the Most High made us. Now, I'm not talking about people that is doing it for medical reasons, and there are those that are born with difficulties in their physical makeup, and so I can understand that. But what we considered basic and average when we look at the little baby, oh, he's a healthy little baby boy, little baby girl. What happened to us that we are now mutilating ourselves so that we can look different than that the Most High made us. And there are some of the information that we're going to explore today. I don't want you to believe nothing I say. I don't want you to take my word for nothing. I want to stimulate your thinking to the point that you will do some research, because there's something going on with us consciously that is beyond just the image that is being shown us. And I look into the white community, and as an African American, I really never even thought coming up that white people had identity problems. I actually thought that they knew themselves so well because everybody I knew kind of loved them. I'm getting a call coming in. I don't have the, okay. So I did, I'm sorry. How do I take it? Okay, caller.
Yes. How you doing, Mr. Larry Yates?
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm glad you joined me.
Yes, sir. My name is Douglas Yates from Grenada, Mississippi. I was looking in at your show.
Hey, what's up, Douglas?
Hey, man, look, do you think that this whole changing your appearance, your body, do you think that this thing is a thing for acceptance?
I think you're absolutely spot on, because what happens is, as I understand, people want to be accepted in different jobs. They wanted to be accepted in different organizations. They want to be accepted around different groups of people. They want to be able to fit in, and some of them want to get the right man of their choice or the right woman of their choice. And so, what has happened is we have been programmed that to sell ourselves as something that we are not when we meet people or when we try to get in different organizations, whether it's movies, music, or anything or stuff like that. Tell me what's your opinion on it.
Well, my opinion, I have, a lot of people don't like rejection. We as men and some women, they cannot handle a rejection. So I have seen women like, well, let's say for instance, they go with a guy and he leaves them for a woman with a bigger butt or bigger lips or more beautiful lips, whatever the case may be. And those women, they start to question themselves and they say, hey, look, what is it about her that you like that you don't like on me? What is it about her that you see in her? Well, she got pretty lips or she have a big butt. So then they go to look at themselves and they look down on themselves because they don't have this butt that this woman had that attracted and took their significant other from them. So I think, in a lot of cases, people do that to say, hey, you know what? That's what it takes to get a man and keep a man. That's what I'm going to do. That's what it takes to get a woman, keep a woman. That's what I'm going to do,
Yes, and here's the thing. We also have to look at why are we not picking our lovers and our partners because we love each other, or there's something spiritual, or there's something that is higher than just the physical, because as we get old, as we know, we're going to lose the physical. That's
right.
So, and once again, I think you're absolutely right. We do it to fit in.
And I can answer that question for you.
Go ahead.
The question, if you look at most of the Islamic women, most of those women are covered. Mm-hmm. When you meet them, when you see them, they're covered. And the reason that is when you meet this woman, you don't see her butt, you don't see her legs, you don't see her face. You fall in love with her, with who she is. You fall in love with her personality before you see her body. So, in other words, what I'm saying is when you out here, the scientists have developed clothing to make a person more attracted to the opposite sex. So when you look at this woman, hey, look, man, she has a big butt. So, hey, I'm attracted to her butt. Do she have any brains? I mean, is she worth falling in love with? Those are the questions you don't answer.
Yeah, exactly. Because the same thing, vice versa. You see these guys they spend all this time in the weight room. They're pumping themselves with steroids. They're pumping themselves up with this, that, and the other. And women choose the guys because of the body, and they come to find out they got a nut on their hand. They got an absolute fool on their hand because they chose for physical, not spiritual, and that's where we are right now. Man, Doug,
That's right.
I really appreciate you giving me a call, and I'm going to move on because I'm going to tie this in. I want you to listen to the tail end of this. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yes, sir. You have a good day,
man. I really appreciate you. Bye bye.
Yes, sir.
And the caller made a very good point, is that we do pick a woman or a guy loses his significant other because the significant other has chosen someone else because of difference in ass or different in breasts or different in lips and the whole bit. But it still comes down to us being happy in finding peace within ourselves, knowing who we are. Because most of us are not going to have the beautiful body of our dreams. Most of us are not going to have the facial beauty of our artificial dreams out there. So, and then we have to find a way to come back into who we are. But once again, how did we get here? How did we get here to the point? And in fact, Carl brought up another point about clothing. I was telling someone, I was asked this question, why do women wear those facial, I can't think of the name of it. Well, you guys know what I'm talking about when they cover their face. Well, actually, that had nothing to do with religion. That started way back, many thousand years ago in the African tribes, where the men and women had to go off and hunt and provide and explore. So after a woman got a certain age, I think it was around 13 or 14, they would cover her nose because the young men, once they became into puberty, they gave off pheromones. And because they weren't wearing a lot of perfume, weren't wearing a lot of artificial scent, the young girls could pick up on the pheromones that the young males were sending off, and they would go into ovulation early. And that was one of the reasons that design across the nose came from thought. I throw that in there on you. But once again, when we look at now, I'm in Laguna Beach a lot, And I'm looking at 80-year-old women that had breasts done, and they're going to be 90-year-old women with huge breasts and on walkers and can't carry the damn breasts no more. I mean, Jesus Christ. There's a backlash to this thing, man. Oh, my God. But, I was laughing. Hey, look, y'all just pray for me because I ain't well. And I'm looking at this, and in Hollywood, and it's getting to the point where some of my friends that I work with, I'm not calling your name, I'm not saying you're wrong. What I am saying is, I'm not saying what anybody is doing to themselves is wrong. I'm just asking, how did you get to the point that you dislike yourself so much? And it's bigger than just your boyfriend leaving you or your husband leaving you or your partner leaving you for a better looker. Man, that has been done for many, 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 many thousands of years. And but many, many thousands of years, they didn't go and mutilate their bodies. Not for that reason. Well, you know what? I know some of you are going to say, well, since I said many, many thousands of years, we're going to go to some of the African tribes. And I won't call one of my great leaders, and I said leaders, but I don't have a leader, philosophers, one of the leaders in the African American community, was doing a teaching on the Africans mutilating their body going back thousands of years. And I want to tell him so bad, I said, sir, no, you are absolutely wrong. This is not what they did. So let me give you a little bit of history on that. When you saw the Africans, they carved and cut different scars all over their bodies. There was many things, there was science behind that. I know everybody's going to say, science behind manipulating the skin and cutting their bodies up and the whole bit. Yeah, remember, these people inherited and went into lands that no other human being had ever put foot in. And they knew that if they cut their body and caused bleeding, that it would cause the blood to bring in more oxygen into the bloodstream. It will cause the immune system to strengthen itself. And so bacteria, insect bites, and other poisonous plants and stuff in that environment didn't kill them. And even some of them would inject slight bits of snake poison from the cobra, the black mamba, and all that into the ink that they tattooed themselves. It was an inoculation. It was not for beauty or not. And the earrings and the bones in the ear, they weren't hairy people. The hairy people was in the north and in the snow. They weren't hairy people. So what they did was, these was living items. This was not made of plastic. What that did was, it caused them to pick up on vibration for survival. They had animals that would attack, and they had to be able to sense these vibrations, and that's what all of the earrings and the lips and the bones and stuff was for, that it enhanced their sense of smell. It enhanced their sense of taste. It enhanced their sense of hearing and vibrations and stuff. So that's what a lot of that was. So now, getting back to how do we get here? For the sake of time, Jarvis, how much time I got? 30 minutes. I got 30 minutes. This is going to be good. One of the things that happened to us is that we're now at a stage where we're functioning completely on emotion. When you go in and look in the mirror, you don't look in the mirror spiritually anymore. When you sit and look at each other eye to eye, you don't look at each other eye to eye spiritually anymore. You look at what you can correct. We look at what we can fix, not the beauty that we can see in each other and see the God spirit in us. That has been removed from us as a whole, and therefore we are now living on an artificial emotional stage. And how do we get here? How do we get here? So this is going to be a little bit technical, And I'm not going to try to throw information out there to make myself look smart. But I want you to stay with me now. Those of you that's going to find this a little bit difficult to follow. So we understand the imagery that got us to not like who we are because of Hollywood, because of magazines, and because of theater. We understand all of that now. We've covered that. But we're going to move somewhere that is a little uncomfortable and a little bit technical. And I know those of you that saying, Larry, get to the point, you have to understand that everybody is not as smart as you. So let me ease into this. In the brain, you have a very, very powerful gland that is called the hypothalamus gland. It's hypothalamus gland. The hypothalamus gland, which makes some of you Christians and Muslims and religious people go nuts when I say this, but it's like the god of glands over your body. And if Jesus and Muhammad and all of them said that the heaven and God was within you, he's most definitely dealing with your ass through your hypothalamus gland. The hypothalamus gland controls so much of your life and all of the other glands, whether you have the thalamus gland, you have the pituitary gland, you have the thyroid gland, you have the pancreas, you have the adrenaline gland. I won't go into all of that and how they all connect for the sake of this few minutes, but let's go back. So you have the hypothalamus gland. The hypothalamus gland, it controls, and I want you guys to go and look this up now. It controls your temperature. It controls your emotions. It controls your desires, your tastes, your hunger, your thirst. The hypothalamus gland, if to put it in where some of you will be a little bit more comfortable, I listened to someone else describe the hypothalamus gland. The hypothalamus gland is, let's say, he's like the CEO of a corporation, which is your body is the corporation. And this is why government's set up just like your body. The head of the government, the arms of the government, the branch of the government, the heart of the government, the voice of the government. You know, all of that is set up behind the human body. But let's go back. The hypothalamus gland is the CEO over all the other glands. And when it sends its signals to, and also it controls the sleep hormone that it gets it from the pineal gland, sends it to the hypothalamus gland, and it controls your sleep. And this is why, and it controls your emotion. So this is why when you are angry, if you're a healthy human being, you're not thinking about sex. You don't want to have sex. You'll tell her, look, I don't want to have no sex right now. Mr. John ain't working because I'm pissed off. And she'll tell you, you can be begging all you want, and she's pissed off. Well, she's not in the mood to have no sex. And that's your hypothalamus gland that is being triggered and secreting certain hormonal communication to your second gland. I want you to go and look it up. To have a hypothalamus gland and your pituitary gland. Now, the pituitary gland works as let's say the president of the company. You have the hypothalamus as CEO, send a message to the president of the company, and the president send a message to all the other glands, the managers that's managing your body. And say, Larry, why is all of this important? Because I don't want you to take my word for anything. I want you to go look this up. And so when something affects the hypothalamus gland, then all other glands in your body suffer because now you're out of balance. The hypothalamus gland, when it's in its healthy stage, it keeps you and the rest of your glands in your body healthy. You can sleep right. You can have you eat right. You can your sex and is appetite is healthy. Your thirst, your hunger is all healthy. But when that hypothalamus gland has been compromised, then you're out of balance. And so what has happened is, and once again, some of you, I want you to be ready for this. The geneticists have now found ways to tamper with the hypothalamus gland. And what they have done is you can look at some of your medications, your high blood pressure medicine, the steroids you take, or your medicine for different diseases, psychological diseases, schizophrenia. They all weakens parts of the hypothalamus gland. And this is why when you look at a TV and they have all of these side effects, if you take this, you might get suicidal. You might want to go kill your dog, your cat, your mama, and everybody else. That's because the drug that you have put into your system, depending on the person, affect the hypothalamus gland in different ways. So now what happens here is that the geneticists have gone into your food and they have put human genes, and I want you to hear this now. You now have human genes in your food. They started with the tomatoes. They said, well, the tomato, it's got more genes than the human body. They have put human genes in your food. And so what you are doing, they have us becoming cannibals. And what are one of the things that happens to people that have been studied to be cannibals? They get something what is called a laughing disease before they die. They cry, they laugh, they cry. They become weaker because it is called an emotional disease. So they put the genes in your food now to shut down part of the hormonal system in your body, which they have done now. They have weakened the male principle in your mind, in your brain, in your body. And they have elevated the female principle in your brain, in your body, which is emotional. So now you're functioning on 80% emotion and probably less than 20% male principle in your head. So everything, we all now have become emotional beings. When we look in the mirror, we're looking in the mirror emotionally. When we get out of bed in the morning, we are emotional. We don't care about nothing but our feelings. We don't even care about math. We don't care about science. When you look at yourself and you're in arguments with each other, you don't care nothing about the truth that each other is telling one another. All you are waiting for him or her to say, well, this is how I feel. They have triggered our hypothalamus gland to shut down the male principle, which is the balancer, and moving more onto the emotion. This is why you see these young people running up and shooting and killing, mass shooting, because they're all emotional. You see young African Americans in the streets talking about he looked at me wrong. It's all emotional. And you can't eat, and because you have been tampered with and your food source have been tampered with so bad, you cannot get full or satisfied. I'm sorry. Your food has been tampered with that you can no longer be satisfied with food. You can no longer be satisfied with your thirst with the drinks that you're drinking. You're no longer satisfied with good information anymore because it's all about how you feel. You don't care about science anymore. You have been tampered with, and your hypothalamus gland has been weakened with these GMOs and with the human gene that has been put into your body that you are now an eye. Man, I'm crying. You know what? I know something wrong with me. When the girl cut one of my braids too long, I started crying. I done turned to a freaking wimp. I'm crying over everything, and so are you. So are you. We cannot make sound decisions when we are functioning off our emotions alone. And don't hit me up with this male-female, egotistical, male chauvinist shit. I'm talking about the imbalance of us having the male principle and the female principle coming together within us spiritually that is bringing about balance that we can actually have proper judgment. We cannot, we are no longer watching news for information. Everybody's watching news for the emotional satisfaction. And when the news does not give us emotional satisfaction, you know what we say? Doesn't matter whether it's affecting our paycheck, doesn't matter whether it's affecting our life. We say, well, I'm tired of that. I don't want to hear that no more. All I do is get upset. Listen to yourself. And men and women, when we are arguing with each other, there is but one phrase we're looking for in debates and argument. Don't you know the English language is not designed for me or you to understand how each other feel? Your man and your woman, your partner, will never, ever be able to satisfy the hunger in you for he or she to say and explain to you, I know how you feel. And that's what we're looking for. I just want you to know how I feel. How am I going to know how you feel? How in the hell am I going to know how you feel? You're waiting for me to say the words. But even if the words will never satisfy you, because you will find other words that is missing out of the very words that you're demanding out of your partners. Because there is no words to satisfy that thirst. There's no words to satisfy that hunger, because you have been shifted out of balance. The obese person look in the mirror and they hate themselves. The ones that eat too much look in the mirror, they hate themselves. The ones that have dark skin, light skin, this. And what you want to do now? You want to go out and buy stuff. You're not buying stuff because you got to have it. You're not buying stuff because you need it. You're buying stuff that you can show other people and they say, oh, you have that, so you can feel good. You do your hair, you do your shoes, you buying clothes that you can't afford so people can say, oh, I like that. So it'll make you feel good. Most of us are riding in cars and stuff that can't afford, running the credit cards up, buying out of control, spending out of control. Why? Because we need to feel good. And reality and truth doesn't always feel good, but we don't want that anymore. We are completely in a state of sleeplessness at night, but we walk around in a state of sleep when we're supposed to be awake. This is not an accident. It's drinking your contaminated water. And I saw a chicken the other day. I'm a black man that don't eat chicken. Okay, cool. I saw a chicken look like a baby Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, it don't even look real when you see this stuff. They'll pump this GMOs, they'll pump the human genes in your pork, in your fish, in your chicken, and in your water. It's not just the lead in your water. And you don't have to take my word for it, and I'm hoping you don't believe nothing I say, but go do the research yourself. And there are things that we can do to work on this to keep us from functioning in such an emotional state of mind that we can find some spiritual balance and put together that male and female principle that like it's supposed to be. Well, we don't live at a lower level of consciousness like this society has us doing. This is why we're getting so angry. Our health is failing us. We don't even like each other anymore. We see no value in each other. Everybody's in everybody's way. Why? Because you're so emotional. And the way you got here, it was just not the images that gave you. It was the tampering with your food source, the very thing you need to survive. That's what they got you with. And now there are some things you can say, Jarvis, how much time I got? 10 minutes. Okay. And once you understand how you got to this point, and I know many of you are going to say, well, Larry, wow, this is kind of deep. I don't know about that. But do your research. This is a day and time that we can actually look up stuff. We're in the information age. Hold on just a second, a minute. Remember when the computers and laptops first came around, one of the things that everybody bragged about, well, we're in the information age. We have the web. But I would challenge some of you that would take the time to go look at some of the old encyclopedias when you're looking some of this stuff up. Look at some of the old dictionaries. Look at some of the old Bibles when you're doing your research. And then you can get a better understanding when you go to Google and judge the information that you're reading and that you're getting. And I know some of you say, well, I feel trapped, Larry. I don't grow my own food. I don't grow this. No, most of us will never do that, but there are things that we can do with each other. But it starts with you. Stop fixing everybody. Because you're running on emotion. Anytime you always see fault and something to fix in other people but not fix yourself, you're functioning off emotions. And we all do it. We all do it. Try to be conscious of when you ask your partner, do you know how I feel? Understand that there is no words there's not enough words in the English language for he or she to explain that, because they don't know how you feel. And the minute he say, I know how you feel, you're going to get pissed off because you'll say to him, how you can know how I feel? The point of it is, don't leave it to anyone other than yourself to fix yourself. You want some understanding and some caressing and some love and all that stuff. Hell, I can use some of that myself every now and again. But we have to try to get away from forcing others to make us feel good. We have to try to get away from letting this system manipulate us into such an emotional stage that all we want to do is spend money and argue. Well, eat. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, the basic consumption thing. And one of the things that, as a life coach, I try to get my clients to repeat something for me. And I don't have any solutions, and it's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just bringing the awareness of. I'm just bringing the awareness that you know that drugs can affect your mood. You know that drugs can affect your behavior. You know that alcohol can affect your behavior. You know that alcohol can affect your moods. You know that drugs can destroy your life and who you are. And you know that alcohol can destroy your life and who you are and your dreams and all of the things that you want to be. They can all be destroyed by drugs and alcohol. We know that. But what so many of us is so hard for us to get is that food is a form of information in your bodies. And the geneticists, the big drug companies, the big food companies, the big farmers, they all know this. I mean, here it is, you're eating a grape with no seed, a seedless grape. How the hell you know that's a grape? It has no seeds in it. But my point is, if they can take a grape and a watermelon and grow it without a seed, what the hell you think is happening to you when you eat it? These are things that we can look out for, that we can be cautious of, because this is how we got here, folks. This is some of how we got here. Now, I don't have the resources or the fix-it tool to get us out of it. But I think that as individuals, if we can be more conscious of what we are demanding from other people, when you get out there, guess what? You get in your car, someone's going to cut you off. Guess what? Your partners, they're going to piss you off. Guess what? The government, they're going to piss you off. But it's how we react to them. These big companies, everybody was looking at how Facebook got all this information, and everybody going woo, 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 woo. That's just to throw you off. They know where you are because of your freaking Social Security number for the last few hundred years. Hell, the Mormons been keeping records and sharing and buying and selling your records and shit for many, many years. Hospitals been buying and selling your records for years. Telephone companies been buying and selling your records for years. So don't let them throw you off with that. You want to be conscious of these things? I get that. But you don't have to get to the point that you continue to dislike who you are. And this thirst and this hunger that this food is not designed to make you satisfied from a nutritional value. The way they have manipulated your brain and your consciousness and your hypothalamus gland to make it weak, to make you function on emotion and the whole bit. All of this is to make you a better consumer. A better consumer. So, and as a life coach, I was going to say, one of the things that I do for myself as a life coach, and if we really want to make a change, the change and managing all of this, once again, is come from within. So sometimes stand in the mirror. Most of you won't stand in the mirror. 90% of you are not going to stand in the mirror with no makeup on, no hair comb, dim the light just a little bit, and just stand there and just stare at yourself. I challenge you. Hit me up on Facebook if you did and tell me what you think. And watch how afraid you become of yourself. Just stand in the mirror, dim the light just a little bit, and just stare all by yourself. Just you and that person in the mirror. And then, if you want to make a difference in the world, start with that one. And here's a phrase that you can consider repeating. What is it about my behavior that if I don't change, I won't get the relationships in life that I deserve? That's both personal, business, socially. Ask yourself again, what is it about my behavior that if I don't change it, I won't get the relationships in life that I truly deserve? And if we focus in on this phrase, if we can look inside of ourselves, we cannot defeat these big companies from manipulating us to some degree, but we can control our behavior and our actions accordingly, and protect ourselves with how we react to this emotional roller coaster ride that this society have us on. I want to thank you guys for joining old boy again. Hit me up on Facebook if you got a how do we get here topic you want me to cover. Hit me up with it and I'll see what I can do because I'm going to dig deep. You know, the boy going to dig deep. Remember, look in the mirror. Ask yourself a question. If I don't change my behavior, then I won't reach the level of relationship that I deserve. And find out what that is about your behavior. Anyway, hey, once again, remember, a nation can rise no higher than it elevates its woman. This is Larry. Thank you guys, man. I'll see you next week.
Just